let's take a different track now, because your story, I mean, as compelling as Wilcon's story is, your story is also very interesting to me.
Yeah.
Because you work in a family business with which I did some research on, and we're both from, of course, LaSalle MBA programs.
Yeah.
And, you know, I did my Strama paper on the family business, but you know, unlike me, you know, I was born into it. You're not a member of the family that owns Wilcon, and yet obviously you're successful. Is it being a woman? Is that the factor, or what would you attribute to your success?
Well, I don't see it in the gender lens, you know.
Okay.
I mean, I'm operating in a male-dominated industry,
Exactly,
I would say. Yeah. So majority of the engineers, architects, majority of the architects, engineers, they're all male, you know, they're all men. And even the boardroom, you know, they're all dominated by men. But I guess it's what you can bring on the table. It's regardless of what gender you belong to, whether you're a woman, whether you're a man, whatever gender it is, no? So it's really on the competency, I guess, and how you get out. I've mentioned about getting out of the comfort zone for you to be able to innovate, try new things, always trying new things. Because I would say that, you know, I would label myself as a transformational leader, in the sense that I always want change. I always want, you know, improvements. You know, when you say transformational, you always look for new things. You always look for improvements, no? And I guess, you know, I remember during my Strama, one of the quotes that I had is
this is from our professor Alfred Cruz.
No, but you know, I'm very much struck with this. You know, Darwin. I mean, the theory of
evolution.
Of evolution. You know, it's not really the strongest and the fittest that, you know, that survive, but basically the most adaptive to change.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
that's interesting. Now, how difficult was it for, you know, a non-family professional like yourself to earn the trust of the owners, and you know, you've been with them for a long time, right? I mean, were you at the beginning, or did you start later? How did you earn their trust?
I came in 1984 when Wilcon was already like 7 years old, I would say. And at that time, you know, it's like we have very meager resources. No? Right. So I guess it's really, you know, it's really more of the personality that I have. No, at that time, you know, I'm pushed between the type of leadership that I should apply, whether it's the carrot or the stick, or the stick or the carrot type of leadership. When you have meager resources, definitely you're very much into control. Right. You want things in order. So I guess my contribution to the company is that, you know, I was able to structure it in the way that, you know, and then I was, you know, I was able to help it navigate and evolve into what it is now, into a modern trade channel. No? So basically, it's really more of adapting to the changes around me, you know. And I guess I'm lucky because I have a good mentor. Not only, of course, I would say I'm influenced also by my father, who's also from the same industry. I see. And my mother also. And then, of course, my mentor is Mr. William Bello, no? Okay. So, you know, the owner of he's our chairman emeritus, no? So I guess he was able to bring out the best in me. He empowered me, and I was able to, you know, to shine and be able to achieve whatever, you know. Because I guess everybody, I mean, a leader would always start with a dream, with a vision, you know. So I guess it's really putting in the frameworks, you know, for you to be able to execute whatever vision or dream you have. No.
And now you mentioned Joy Concepcion earlier, and I understand you're also now doing some mentoring yourself.
Yes, yes.
Right? So what are some of the things that you would recommend to younger professionals, maybe younger entrepreneurs, to also be as successful as we call?
You know, actually, when you talk about mentoring, there's two types of mentoring, the intentional and the unintentional. Right. So the intentional is when you pass on the skills, the knowledge and the information, right? So that's deliberate, no? The unintentional is how you touch the lives of people. I mean, influencing them and, you know, leading by example. I guess that's the intentional part. And that really marked your character on how people would regard you, no? Especially in this business. No?
Right.
So I guess, when you talk about mentoring, it's not really about how people appreciate you, but basically on how you lead them, on how you became a good example to them.
Right. Now, you mentioned Mr. Bello a while ago. What are some of the things that, that he told you or advised you that, looking back, that, that was the thing that made us say, I mean, what was the most valuable thing looking back, you think, that came from that relationship with your mentor?
I guess what I saw in him really is his drive and passion.
Okay.
And then of course the perseverance, though. We faced so many challenges. I mean, there will be humps and bumps, along the way, especially when we were just starting. But I guess it's really the drive and the passion to persevere and to, coupled with hard work as well, no?
Right.
Yeah, so it's really more of the attitude and the character that you have, no?
No, forgive me for saying this, but for some people who may be, younger professionals, they may not be looking, at Wilcon as their, they may be looking at, a cushy office job, right?
Exactly.
Right? And yet maybe that's that, they're not as successful as you guys are now. So how do you talk to these young incoming professionals, because they have such high expectations? It seems like they have high expectations, and yet they don't have any appreciation of the sacrifices that went into it, right? How do you break it to them, or how do you relate to them?
Well, I guess you're talking about the next generation at Wilcon, no? So basically, I guess...
Or just, in any business,
it's really, in any business, no? I guess it's really more of... I always believe in this saying, there's always the law of harvest,
Okay.
You reap what you sow.
Okay.
I mean... If you sow
there's
good
no
things,
shortcut.
There's no shortcuts, no. So basically, it's all about hard work, perseverance, doing things right, and fairness.
Right.
Like for example, I've mentioned about our mantra is to provide the products that the market needs in a comfortable and sustainable way. So basically, it's really more of if you ask about loyalty from your customer, you show them your loyalty first to them. Before. So it's really about fairness. It's really about giving the right thing or providing the right thing, no?
Right.
So don't you mentioned about shortcuts. Don't take shortcuts in business, even in life, no?
Right.
I mean, there's no such thing as shortcuts. And what? One thing exciting about Wilcon, probably you mentioned, it's not as sophisticated as other industries, or as other sectors, But what we did, I'll be very proud to say that what I did about Wilcon, or what we did about Wilcon, is that we make it sexy, a sexy hardware, right?
Yeah.
I
transformed it.
Yeah, we transformed it. It really evolved into what it is now,
Yeah. And I mean, everyone I hear who has a renovation or construction, they always talk about you. But that's quite remarkable, actually. But, what would it take? If you're talking to a younger Mr. Bello now, right? I know you said perseverance, right? Hard work. Was there anything else that you learned along the way, maybe through your experience, that you found maybe helpful to pass on to the next generation of entrepreneurs?
It's leading and serving with the heart.
Okay.
It's really serving with the heart, It's not just about buying and selling. It's not transactional.
Yeah.
It's more like a relationship, relational, I would say. We've seen many of our customers, from the parents to the children,
right,
still buying from us. In fact, if you look at the Wilcon stories that we, that we promoted, in one of our marketing campaign, there's this father and son architect. There's this mother and daughter who's been, buying from us. Architect, Peña, the son is now an architect.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, of course, Joy Tanchi and the mother, Jonah Tanchi. And, we've seen many of our customers, from the first to the second generation, still buying from us. So it's all about, being, being true to your promise of, I guess it has to go with integrity as well.
Right. That's interesting. How does failure factor in? Because, I hear that you mentioned a while ago, the ability to remake and adapt, I think was something you said was important, right? And there are so many changes now, so much disruption going on now. And I hear people saying that, you know, your successes are good, but your failures are very instructive as well. You can probably learn more from them. Is that also the case from your career, from Wilcon's experience?
You know, in every challenge or in every, let's say, whether it's a natural calamity or whether it's, you know, man-made, you know, issues or problems that we encounter, no? So it's basically, I guess, your drive to thrive and survive. So we always look at, you know, at opportunities when there's crisis. In fact, based on our track record, you know, we opened 26 stores during challenging times, no? So I guess we work well better under pressure.
I should mention that before the pandemic, if I remember correctly, you listed, right?
Yeah, we listed in 2007. Yeah.
Right, and well, one of the things that happened lately was that Metro Pacific, I think, delisted, and they said they're not getting as much from the market, which is a little worrying to me. But is that the experience that you have? Are you still have confidence in being a listed company in the Philippine Stock Exchange?
Well, you just have to, you know, at the end of the day, you have to satisfy your stakeholders.
Right.
It's really committing and fulfilling the commitment.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's very interesting. And as you were saying earlier, it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman.
Yeah.
Is it just the Philippines, or do you think that's just true?
But, you know, I'm a very strong advocate of women's rights as well. You know, I'm part of the board of directors of Women Biz, no? So let's not discount that women really, I mean, not everybody are able to, you know, to navigate and thrive, no? So we still have to help a lot of women, especially those indigenous entrepreneurs, no?
Sure,
I mean, you all know that women has a big role in society, you know?
Right. But is it correct to say that what you meant a while ago was that, you know, it's you know, you shouldn't be thinking like you're a man or woman.
Yeah.
It's what you put on the table, I think, is what you said.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's really your competence, regardless of, you know, I mean, some women would feel that, oh, I should have this advantage because I'm a woman, and then they would, you know, I mean, respect begets respect. Appreciation begets appreciation. You know, if you lead by example, as I've mentioned, if you just practice fairness and, you know, practice the law of harvest, I guess things would, you know, would be easy for you.
You reap what you sow.
Yeah.
Rose, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure talking to you. Before we go, maybe you want to leave our guests with some final thoughts?
Well, I always believe in the Filipino, you know, the Philippines is really, I guess, a very resilient, you know, race, no, I would say. And we can do it, I mean, as long as we work together. And I always believe in this principle that, you know, in life, I mean, you make a living from what you get.
Okay.
And you live life from what you give. So even in teaching, you learn. In learning, you teach, and in teaching, you learn also.
Very interesting. I think our common friend Alfred will be very proud of you for saying that. This has been This Is Some Politics. I'd like to thank everyone watching this program. I'd like to thank Pastor Paul Kibuloy for making this program possible. I'll see you next week.